asked a couple of guys. The Miami's blitz packages are really good. They're very good at it from an offensive lineman's perspective. Is it as good as you've seen this year, and what makes it so good?
In Miami, it in itself is very good. That defense they have is they understand schematically what they're trying to get done, and they execute at a very high level. And it's a very formidable front in its own, and then along with those blitz packages, like you said, it's always a great challenge to go against this crew, and it'll be another exceptional one come Sunday.
Mitch, you said it was cool when you sat down, but what is it like to hear what Micah's been through and to see, even though there's still steps to go, where he's at today, just knowing all the work he's put in?
I think resiliency is thrown around sometimes, and it can go over your head, or you can. It's overused sometimes, but to me, that's about as resilient of an effort to make it back to this team and be out there. And it was tangible, it was palpable, it was infectious today to see him out there and lit a spark under us. It was fun. It was just fun to see, and he had a lot of good points to talk about, and to just kind of see where his mindset is and how he's wired, and that's why he's been the way he is, and the player he's been for so long. That's just how he's made.
As a fellow leader on this team, you look across the field during practice. What sense do you get? What does his leadership mean to that side of the ball? You know what obviously Josh's leadership means as the quarterback of the offense, but you have several quarterbacks of the defense, I think, at the various levels. What does his leadership mean on that side of the ball from your perspective?
Yeah, I think his leadership was felt a lot more than people saw, probably, even on the sideline. He was always in those guys' ear. He's been a prolific football player here since the Sean McDermott regime started. He's a guy that coach has been leaning on for a long time, and that defense has kind of rode with for a long time. And I think since Kyle left, you have a few guys like Poyer, Micah, Tremaine, all these dudes that have really kind of shouldered a lot of this leadership responsibility for this defense. And just to have a guy out there who's played at such a high level, understands the defense, can put guys in positions to be successful, it's paramount for a lot of guys to have him back out there.
When you talk about the Sean McDermott era, 6 years ago today he was hired as head coach here. What has his leadership meant to your overall process here and the progress that this organization has made during his time?
Yeah, every season's different, whether it be personnel or what a team's going through, or just what's going on in the world. He's one of those guys that he sticks to who he is, his coaching style. Will ask input from guys and doesn't have an answer he's already looking for. If he asks for input on something, he's legitimately asking, and maybe it's not something he agrees with, but he'll still have dialogue with people, and I think that's very cool. He's just a guy that is kind of steady, and it's really cool to see him grow as a leader, along with just a few of us guys. Learning how to be professionals and veterans.
These last 2 weeks have been an emotional roller coaster. Sean kind of said it's not a soap opera, though. How do you recalibrate to get back to off the high maybe of Sunday and the good news of DeMar to there's a dangerous Dolphins team coming here that has beaten you guys before?
Yeah, well said. I think we had these last 2 days to reset. Everyone does that differently. I can tell you that this team is happy for DeMar and happy for his progress, elated, but we're focused on the task at hand, which we know is no small feat. This is a very dangerous team coming in here on both sides of the football. And it really doesn't matter who's at the helm at quarterback for them. They have playmakers and a defense that can really carry this team, and it'll be just a really great competitive match come Sunday at 1.
Feel a shift kind of in the building, knowing that the regular season is over and where you're at, just how important and how necessary it is?
Well, when you're in this position, being in the playoffs, every team in the playoffs is going to say how how important this is. You find a balance between knowing what works, what got you to where you are, but also understanding that mistakes might be heightened. The stakes are very high, the highest in the sport, but not letting that make you too rigid. Still having your personality, still having the fluidity of a conversation or a practice, and not being uptight, because that's when you play outside of yourself. So it is a fine balance, but we all understand what being in the playoffs means. It's a 1-week season from here on out, and what comes with that is heightened awareness, I'd probably say, of what's going on.
I know you don't block him every play necessarily, but what has made Christian Wilkins so tough, especially this year? He's really stepped up his game.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think he's playing his best ball right now. A very multiple football player can line up at different positions on the D line and be disruptive. An athlete, I think a guy whose motor is pretty remarkable for his size and his position, and very competitive dude. And I think that's not lost on anyone who watches him play. So it's a great challenge every time you get to go against him. And like you said, I think he's playing his best ball. A guy who can make a difference in both run and pass game, and one of those guys you definitely have to be aware of on the field.
Sorry about that. You talked earlier about the heightened awareness of the postseason. You guys have been dealing with heightened expectations all year. I mean, you came into the year as preseason Super Bowl favorites, and you've had to sort of stomach that all year. What impact, if any, has that had on the locker room, dealing with those expectations?
You're aware of outside perception. You're aware of outside noise at all times. But we understand the mortality of this team. Granted, that might be the wrong choice of words in this given moment, but we understand that anyone can beat anyone on any given day. We do not feel like we've been owed anything. We still feel like we're not owed anything. This team has beaten us before in a pretty embarrassing fashion. We have the utmost respect for this team and every team we're going to face possibly in the future. But, this is a team it's going to be a 4-quarter battle, and it's going to be an exciting atmosphere. But we don't put any extra pressure on ourselves, because we don't dictate ourselves as the Super Bowl champions until whoever plays that is going to go through it. So it's a 1-week season, like I said. No one has felt like we're going to step on that field and anything's going to be given to us. Exactly the opposite. We're going to have to go fight for it, because this team coming in here is very competitive and aggressors.
Does it help that the familiarity? You know these guys. You know they've beat you, and you know how tough it was to beat them back a little, like 3 weeks ago. How much does that help maintain the focus? Because this team is something that you know very well.
Yeah, I think there's the flip side of that coin. They know us very well, right. Also. I'm not disparaging your point. I think it's a catch-22. You do have familiarity. They have familiarity with you, not only schematically but personnel-wise. You've put a lot of time on task. You've had a reps against these players, understand what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. That's a great question. I think it has its pros and cons, for sure.
With what Tua's going through with his head injury, and he's been declared out this week, as someone who's dealt with head injuries in the past, most recently this season, do you have any thoughts on what he's going through and how difficult that is for a player, especially approaching the postseason, not to be able to be out there with ongoing?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something I was going to, eventually when this all plays out, hopefully reach out to him and just talk to him about the whole situation. Every one of these head injuries is different. You see 1,000 concussions. Each person, has different symptoms, carries different weight with them. I've missed the postseason before with concussions. It's never fun to miss football with a concussion, but especially when you've worked so hard to get to a point. I think in the end, you have people around you that are looking out for you. I think you're aware of the situation itself. It doesn't define you. It doesn't dictate who you are. There should be no. Hopefully, he doesn't feel like there's a stigma about him, even if people tell you, because the only opinion that matters is his and the people. His close family. It's something that'll work itself out. And I feel like I'm not at a point to have an opinion on his playing status where he is, because everyone's situation is so different. I've had multiple concussions in a season. I understand how emotionally taxing that can be. It's nothing you look forward to, but it's part of the game. It's part of the gig, and I think he has strong enough faith and strong enough backbone to understand that this is just kind of what he's dealing with right now. This is a script given him in 2022 that doesn't dictate who he's going to be in 2023 or his status in 2023. But it's one of those things that you got to be conscientious of. Your body will tell you when you're ready, and that's the only opinion he should really be looking after. So there's people in place to tell him when he's safe as well, because sometimes in these situations, not saying in his in general, people have to look out for you as well. So it's a very volatile situation. It's one that the outside perception that and the public have, for some reason, have opinions that they feel like they can dictate what a person should or shouldn't do. It's ridiculous, but that's the nature of the beast, and I feel for him going through it.
Do you recall anybody or anything you may have leaned on in your past experience when you did miss the postseason with a head injury?
Family and friends, just like anything. The family feel these injuries as much as anyone, and feel them probably more than you do. You understand your body, you understand what you're going through, but like I said before, the public has varying opinions on these things. But in the end, all you can care about is your opinions within your circle, whatever he dictates his circle, whatever he deems his circle to be. And eventually, when all this is settled down, when all this is stuff, I'd love to have a chat with him and just kind of have a candid conversation if he wants to. Some people don't want to talk about it. That's fine by me. Appreciate you.
Thanks.